All right, Nick, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams gotten off to a decent start, disappointing loss, but very close loss. This team looks very good, especially defensively. I think there's a lot of good stuff on the horizon for this young team, but unfortunately, due to injury, they're going to have to shake it up and make some changes, and one surprising player might get his shot, and I think it'll be something that is very good for the Rams going forward. We'll dive into this in just 1 second, but first, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, injury on the defensive side of the ball with Omar Speights. I don't think it's too serious, but nonetheless, they're going to have to get some young guys in the mix. Well, one veteran in Troy Reeder will be there, but undrafted rookie Shaun Dolac is going to get his chance to get some starting reps in this defense. I think it's going to be very good for this Rams team going forward. Let's get into the article, and then we could talk about some of the stats and what he brings to the table on the other side. So this is from USA Today, and it says, without Speights, the Rams will likely split snaps between veteran Troy Reeder and undrafted rookie Shaun Dolac. The Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula broke down exactly what Dolac has done to earn these opportunities early in his career. He says, you could tell pretty early the game wasn't too big for him, Shula said. Like we were talking about with Omar, you can almost talk to him like a coach, even though he is a really young player that obviously hasn't played much yet, but the game makes sense to him. You saw it in practice. You saw it in OTAs, how easy it was for him. He obviously went on in the preseason and played really well and was able to get guys to the ground and tackle. He was physical, and we're seeing it on special teams right now. So this seems like the perfect undrafted free agent story. Dolac comes in. He starts off really great, catches the coach's attention, working his way up, and now he finally gets his chance to start. And I love what Shula says here about Dolac. He understands the game. Moment's not too big for him. This is a guy that seems like he's ready. And how often do you hear that about an undrafted free agent? Not very often. That's the answer. This is a guy that's come in, and he seems to have a high football IQ. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's supposed to do. And at linebacker, that's going to be very important going forward. And I think also the fact that he's shown in preseason against NFL players, in OTAs and practice against NFL players, that he's good enough, he can make the plays. That is crucial here for the Rams, because if you look at the Rams, quite frankly, on defense, they're very good this year. This is a team that is really high marks, top 5, top 6 across the board in everything. But one thing I think that is really important is this is a team that has been really strong in run defense. They're actually 4th in the NFL per PFF in run defense with a 77.1 grade. And a large part of that is, I'll pull up this first graphic here, showing Omar Speights. This is a guy who has been really strong in run defense, especially this last game. He really turned it on and did a lot of great stuff. He has had a 66 overall grade for run defense on the season, one of the stronger linebacker performances they have. And I think that has been crucial. You love a linebacker that can play the run, but with him being hurt, is that going to be a big hit to their run defense coming forward? No, I don't think so, because Shaun Dolac is the perfect replacement. This is a guy who can slot right in, and if you look at what he did in the preseason, he had a 69.6 run defense grade, and you saw week to week growth. He's learning, like the coaches said. He's, always in the playbook. The moment's not too big for him. This is a guy that knows what he's doing. Went from week 1 a 59.5 run defense grade to week 2 a 77.5 run defense grade, capping off at average for 69.6. So this guy looks like he's very, very ready for the moment, and he can fit right in for what the Rams need at running back. A strong run defender who can come in, and he's been great at tackling as well, 83.3 tackling grade, so he's not going to miss too many tackles in that vein. This guy is ready for the moment, and I think we're going to see some possible breakout moments. Might take a game or two for us to say, okay, he's had a breakout game, breakout performance, but we'll see some breakout moments from Shaun Dolac. I think it's going to be a great starting linebacker for this Rams team, and potentially we'll get to see a glimpse at what the future of the linebacker position is for the Rams. Curious what your thoughts are on all of this, Nick. But before we get to you, let's go ahead and hear from the sponsor of today's video.
I wanted to take a minute in today's video to talk about something that's really important to me, guys, and that is food. Look, we all know, of course, we all have family obligations, right? You're never going to sacrifice family. You got work stuff, right? Got to make money somehow. And for darn sure, at least I, and I know you guys probably feel the same way, not skimping out on any football. Gonna watch the games, of course. But where does that leave enough time to prepare tasty meals to fill us up and get the calories, proteins, and all that stuff we need to fulfill our active lifestyles? At least I know in my case, right? I got a young daughter at home. I'm trying to stay fit. I'm trying to, move around as best I can. But my wife and I, we're running around with our hair on fire half the time while also doing our work stuff, other family stuff, the football stuff, right? I mean, is there enough time to sit and prepare and eat a bunch of meals? Of course not. And that's the case with a lot of people these days. Everyone's got busy lifestyles. That's where snacks come in. And look, I know a lot of people, snacks traditionally aren't the tastiest thing. They don't really hit the good calorie protein requirements that I know a lot of us are going for. And that's why I'm excited to talk about our sponsor today, and that is Chomps. And I got one of their meat sticks right here, guys. I tell you what, I know a lot of people say meat stick. Is it tasty? My opinion, this stuff is delicious. I love their barbecue flavors, but the best part, in my opinion, 100 calories. We're talking 10 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar. So it checks all the boxes I'm looking for in terms of nutrient requirements, again, to just fit into my active lifestyle. Chomps is one of those things that, I wish I'd known about it before because it's such a tasty snack. And once you start eating them, guys, you won't stop. I've never been a meat stick kind of guy until I tried Chomps. These things are off the chain. And here's the best part, guys. If you go to chomps.com/SMI, again, link in the description box below, you'll get 15% off your next order. Big discount there. We're talking tasty snacks, 100 calories, 10 grams of protein. I love it. You got to try it if you haven't already. Go to chomps.com/SMI to get your 15% discount today.
All right, Nick. Now let's hear from you. What are your thoughts on everything here for the Rams?
So I think there's a couple points here to just remind everybody of when it comes to Dolac, right? Coming out of college, coming out of Buffalo, he was phenomenal in terms of what he did on the football field. You talk about PFF grades, his college grades are astronomical. Anyone who's familiar with PFF, if you're not, understand this. Anything in the 90s, if you get like a 90 plus grade, that's like Aaron Donald, right? That's that level of dominance. 80s is considered all pro, Pro Bowl caliber. And if you look at his last season, Dolac's last season with Buffalo, his overall defensive grade, again, this is college, but it speaks to his talent, 91.9, run defense, 90.3, tackling, 91.5, pass rush, 84.2, coverage, 92.6. I mean, the guy was basically an unbelievable superstar linebacker. I get it, mid-tier college football, but that speaks to the level of talent that he showcased and the production he showcased his final year in the collegiate ranks. So obviously, as an undrafted free agent, we talked about him at the time, massive steal, massive opportunity, just because he's a guy that slides in the draft because, he doesn't have all the greatest measurables, didn't go to a big school. It's the classic example of a guy falling in the draft. And the Rams made a tough decision, right? They had Paul, the linebacker out of Ole Miss, who we were big fans of, still are. I think he's a good football player. They just said, listen, we like Dolac more than Paul. I thought they would have found a way to keep both, but they decided to, keep Reeder and Spates and roll with Dolac as one of the linebackers. But we're going to see now the Rams, the move they made to obviously get him as an undrafted free agent and work him through the preseason. I think they're going to unleash him. I think it was one of the better moves of the offseason, pulling him post-draft, the Rams getting him in the building. He's one of those guys. And if you look at all the reporting out of Buffalo, great locker room guy, great leader. Like, he checks every intangible box, was a phenomenal football player, hard worker, cerebral football player, hustles all the time, but he's just not quite big, strong, or fast enough, and didn't play at Alabama. Right. And we've seen this story before. We've seen this story all the time about these massive draft steals that have some sort of flaw in terms of, they weren't drafted in the right spot, didn't come from the right school, or, they're 2 inches too short, or their arms are 3 inches too small, whatever it may be. And I think we didn't see the next story here coming out in Shaun Dolac. I think he's going to have a massive performance. And I give the Rams, by the way, a lot of credit by saying we're going to split reps, right? This is where the intelligence of McVay and Shula and the entire coaching staff comes into play here. Because if you keep Dolac on your roster, if you have a guy on the 53, you play him, right? You believe in him. If you have him on the roster and the injuries happen, you're like, we're going to bring a veteran off the bench. We're going to add a guy to a practice squad, then elevate him, then that's the dumbest decision in the world. Why would you put him on your final 53? Now's an opportunity to see if everything you imagine in this young linebacker is there. And I'm excited to see how he does. All he's done his entire career in collegiately, and when he showed up in the preseason and training camp and OTAs as well, is just be a good football player. I think he's going to have a great opportunity to do that this Sunday. At the time, we talked about the Rams' massive steal, massive undrafted free agent steal. I think the trend has continued based on how he's played in the preseason all the way up to this point, and I love the fact that the Rams are about ready to unleash him, and they're open about it. Here's the best part about what the Rams are doing here, and I think kind of the hidden genius of Sean McVay is that they're very open about it. They're not sitting there saying, maybe he'll play some, maybe he'll play a little bit, we're not so sure, right? They're going to put him in a position to, listen, man, we're treating you as if you're basically, a pseudo starter here. We're putting the responsibility on you. We're putting pressure on you. Let's see how you perform. It's a great move by Sean McVay. It's an exciting opportunity for Shaun Dolac. And like you mentioned, this is a really good defense with an outstanding front four, front eight, really, if you look at the depth of the front four up front. You talk about another rookie I like, Josiah Stewart, doing some good things for the Rams, along with that just amazing cast of characters that make out their defensive front. But I look at Dolac here having a great chance for the Rams, and it just speaks to Les Snead, Sean McVay, this coaching staff, their ability to find talent, draft, and develop. Everyone's always like, well, who's the next Puka Nacua, right? Who's the next Puka Nacua? Who's the next mid to late round guy that becomes a star? Or all these other examples of the Rams finding great players, right? Everyone's looking for the next pod. Where's the next Verse-Fisk combination? Where can we find that, right? The reality is, and the Rams have showed this time and time again, they're head and shoulders above when it comes to intelligently finding players. The next Puka Nacua, there ain't going to be a next Puka Nacua. The Rams got him first because they're already, if you're looking for the next something, it's too late. It's already gone, right? Who's the next pod? You're not going to be able to replicate what the Rams did. They led the charge that way. And I think they're doing it again with Shaun Dolac, getting a great football player at an undrafted free agent and having the guts, and I think at this point the intelligence, to keep him on the final 53, because I guarantee you 31 other teams would have been clamoring him to get him on their team if they would have put him on waivers or put him on the practice squad. They had the guts and the intelligence to keep him, and now they have the smarts and guts to play him and give him a great opportunity. I'm excited to see what he does this weekend. I think he's got a bright future. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a really good performance this Sunday and just a really good career. He's a great football player, what he showed in college, and I think the Rams once again are proving themselves to be head and shoulders above their competition.
Yeah, Nick, and I think one thing people kind of forget, I know we didn't because when we were looking at the film early on in the preseason, a guy that we really, really like, Dolac didn't just sneak onto this roster. He had to fight his way onto this roster because there was another talented linebacker prospect that the Rams did draft in the 5th round that you'd think was more likely a candidate to make this roster, and Paul, who he was a really solid player. Like you said, the guys that didn't play at Alabama, well, he played close enough. This is an SEC guy, played 3 years at Arkansas, then went to Ole Miss. So the guy, Paul, was an SEC linebacker, came over, very talented. We're not saying by any means that he was a bad linebacker whatsoever. We really liked his tape, liked what he brought to the table for this Rams team, but Dolac beat him out. Dolac is the guy who makes the roster at that linebacker position as a rookie. So I think this guy is special. There's something they see here. And it's like you said, I love that. There's never like a next. You can't find the next pod. You can't find the next Puka Nacua. You got to go on to find the first of this. And I think that Shaun Dolac is the first of whatever strategy or whatever the Rams have cooked up to find their next player. I don't know how they do it, because if somebody knew how they do it, then they wouldn't be the Rams. They wouldn't be having all these innovative draft ideas. So I think that we see here Shaun Dolac. He's the first of this era. He's going to be the first of this undrafted, maybe a little undersized linebacker that the Rams bring in and bust onto the scene and do some really great stuff. So I really love what he's got going on. I think this guy is ready for the moments. Like Shula said, moments not too big for him. This is a guy that seems like a veteran already as an undrafted free agent. So I'm excited about what he's got to bring to the table for the Rams, and I'm really excited to see him play on Sunday.